This is Table for Two. Um, this is a D&D duet podcast where we change roles as the story develops. My name's Nick Kennedy. I'll be in the Dungeon Master's chair today, and with me, as always,
Janet Harrison, and I am going to be in the player seat tonight.
and you'll be playing Reve, because at the end of our last session, episode 9, characters switched. So I think you spent most of that session as Quinn, and right at the very end, I kind of pulled the rug out from under you.
Like always.
Things got a little hairy there, too. So let's catch everybody back up, and then we'll dive back in. So when we picked up last session, Quinn had been kind of obsessively researching anything possible in relation to the cult and the kind of arcane symbols that were appearing in the sky, the changing constellations, the appearance of a new constellation in the sky, somewhat seemingly fixed in the sky above the Rutherford Conservatory and the library. Having spent, I think it was just about a week or a little over a week, essentially almost like living in the library, sneaking meals from the kitchens, and really just like running themselves ragged, poring over text, scrolls, and whatnot. Not even realizing that they were spending much of that time utterly alone as the campus just became more and more vacant as things grew weirder throughout the city of Arms. After some kind of hectic and harried searching, an old acquaintance entered the library to find Quinn poring over their studies. Marcellus Locke, who we first met back in, I want to say, episode 1, who had also been originally kind of looking into and researching the Church of the Shepherd, finally had some information and came to Quinn with some revelations. Took them quite a long time to track Quinn down, searching their home and the surroundings, finally finding them buried behind books in the library. It was a pretty dense lore dump from Marcellus Locke, kind of filling Quinn in on ultimately the location of the next seal to be broken, which it turns out was buried kind of deep below the Rutherford Conservatory, which seems to have been constructed over the seal with the intention of making it. The Founders Hall, one of the original constructions of the conservatory, served as a kind of gateway between the caverns below and the school above, and was kind of magically or locked through arcane means. So Quinn first had to retrieve an item known as a nullstone from the desk of the headmaster, Elias Dorn, and had to fight a reanimated tapestry, but upon defeating that, applied the stone to the arcane lock and essentially made the wall dissolve, and made apparent a stairway behind it. They descended through secret passages, when with Marin in tow, having returned to find Marin as well. And descended into this kind of magnificent-looking golden chamber with these tapestries kind of woven all around, with incantations kind of threaded through the graphics of the tapestry. They made their way through a kind of a series of chambers till they got to what appeared to be kind of the very bottom, where they found the Crook of the First Word, the third and last artifact required to break the fifth and final seal, but also an item needed to break the fourth seal. After navigating the tunnels and finding the place to perform the ritual and place the crook in this essentially like altar-like pedestal in the center of another room, Quinn, I think, had a deep moment of reflection or perhaps a crisis of conscience, and began to question the choices that led them to this moment, and what they really hoped for the future. The conflict became a really kind of deep internal struggle between Quinn and the altered Reve. Um, and while it seemed to be sort of a friendly and understanding nature, Reve ultimately assumed control of their body and implanted the crook into the pedestal, seemingly beginning the ritual to break the fourth seal. As that happened, the tapestries that lined the halls, the circular walls of this room as well, suddenly seemed to shift and kind of like rustle in a non-existent wind. And then the threads began to kind of unravel and split themselves open. And as they unwound, a deep kind of darkness began to spill out between those threads, the kind of golden light that had been coming from kind of nowhere, but suffusing the whole space, began to dull as this darkness poured in. And out of the darkness came these creeping, grotesque, reaching tentacles that started to lash out towards Reve and just onto the ground. This is about 30 feet from him. That's right where we left off, and we'll pick up now as these long, reaching tentacles kind of slap onto the cement pavers on the floor and start to pull kind of dense, hulking forms of what just look like grotesque, wet flesh. It's this odd, oblong-shaped body that is being dragged behind these reaching tentacles. And this whole being seems to be covered in small little eye slits, sets of teeth that seem to maybe open with full mouths or maybe not. And as these hulking mass is pulled out, you see the shadow of another one being dragged out right behind it. In the center of this kind of like oblong central mass body appears to be one large, giant, kind of gaping maw with a singular bloodshot eye above it. And they just kind of pour with this ichor, this kind of black ooze dripping down all over them, kind of glistening in this sheen. With that in mind, I'd like you to roll initiative.
14.
Would you like to roll for Marin also?
Yeah.
+1.
16 for me.
Say 16 or 15?
Mm-hmm. 16.
Creatures do not roll particularly well.
Okay.
So they will be going after you. Let's see here. Starting with Marin. So to kind of paint the picture for you, briefly, the center of the room is where that kind of raised pedestal was. It was like 2 or 3 short stone steps up to this central kind of stone structure in the center, but it seemed to have a little socket in the very top of it that matched essentially the same shape and size as the shaft of the crook. So that is what Reve slid into it, and with the sort of click, you felt it kind of set in place. And as that happened is when the outer walls, which are about, like I said, 30 feet from you, so you're in a space that's about 60 feet by diameter, is when the tapestry surrounding you started to kind of ripple, and from kind of directly in front of you, so opposite the entrance, is where you see these grotesque, aberrant creatures now pulling themselves out of the tapestries and portions. So they're about, like I said, 30 feet away from you. We're going to start off with Marin, who is going to really just kind of look at Reve very concerned. I think Reve, you still kind of got your hand probably on the shaft of the crook, and you feel it already kind of beginning to vibrate in that socket, like it's trying to almost shoot itself back out. And I think you both maybe intuit that it needs to be held in place
Okay.
for some time.
All right. Reve is going to at least look over their shoulder and tell Marin that I can't let this move. It needs to stay here.
Okay, what can I do to help? Do you want me to hold it?
We need to keep the creatures away.
All right. Might have something for that. Marin's going to take a few steps forward, not really closing the distance completely, but he'll step down the 2 or 3 stone steps to the main floor and position themselves between you and them.
Mm-hmm.
And is going to root around in their pockets for that little tiny cannon, their favorite little toy. And let's see, what's the range on this thing? Okay. 4, 4. Okay. Instead of the flamethrower, Marin's going to use the Force Ballista property. So they won't need to close the range completely. They're going to target the closest creature, this like just odd shape of ropey-like tentacles and grotesque body part mass, and see if they can't kind of blast it further back. So the range spell attack should be the first. That is a miss, unfortunately, as kind of in a panic, Aaron is sort of trying to pull this thing out and doing their best, just like, understand the assignment, keep the things away from the crook, the pedestal. And just in their haste, fires too early, and this blast of force energy just comes shooting out of this tiny little handheld cannon. But you see it kind of just obliterate some of the tapestry kind of up and off to the left behind the creatures. And Marin is almost kind of pushed back a foot or two as it goes off. That'll be it for their turn, and that'll bring it to your turn.
Okay. So the first thing that Reve thinks of is they're going to go ahead and they're going to cast Spirit Shroud, which is a concentration spell, but basically you call forth the spirits of the dead, which is going to fit around you for this duration of the spell. And until the spell ends, any attacks that are made is going to deal 1d8 of extra damage when you hit a creature within 10 feet of you, and the damage can be radiant, necrotic, or cold. And then any creature that takes the damage can't regain the hit points until the start of my next turn. And then additionally, any creature of my choice that I see starts its turn within 10 feet of me, has its speed reduced by 10 feet until the start of my next turn. So kind of basically like Reve is like, okay, well, I need to protect myself and make sure that we're keeping these creatures as far back as possible. So Spirit Shroud, and then Reve is going to go ahead and cast Eldritch Blast as well, keeping their hand on the crook and in the little keyhole, I guess. The best I can think of it is a keyhole. And how many creatures are there, Nick?
There's just 2. They seem like there's a lot more body parts than that, but there's only actually 2 what look like central masses of body.
All right, so and nat 20 for Eldritch Blast.
Starting off strong. All right.
Okay.
So let's see.
So that's the first theme.
Okay.
And
So
then,
closest target, I assume?
Yeah, closest target. And then second beam is a 16.
Is that 16?
16, yeah.
That'll hit.
Okay, 16 and 20, all right. And that's going to go to the other creature. So trying to split the difference.
Okay.
And let's see here. D10. That'll be 9, and then that one is going to take the extra D8 on that damage from
On the
spirit.
first one?
On the first one, yeah.
Okay.
I love it when I'm panicking and I can't find my dice. So 9, 6, 15, 17 points of damage on the first beam. And that's going to be doubled because it's a nat 20. No, wait. It's just the roll. It's not the extra D8. So.
You do double, at least my house rule has always been, you double the damage for any dice roll. It's just the modifier that does the double.
Okay. So. 12, 14. So that's going to be 28 points of damage on that first beam.
On that first one? Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
All right.
All right. And then the second one. Not awful. 7 points of damage.
Okay. So, that was 7.
7 points of damage. And it doesn't get the D8 because it's just the first attack. Okay,
so the closest target, this is essentially, to fill you and give you a better idea of what we're looking at. It's kind of like a roper, but it's a roper from a different plane of existence. So it's mimicking body parts that are not from this plane of existence, from the material plane.
Yeah.
It's mouth, its eyes, it's everything, all looks slightly different, but it is grotesque. The first roper blasted with this massive eldritch blast. I said blast already. That's threw me off.
Yeah.
Massive eldritch blast, and you see one of its tentacles just goes like blasting off and kind of wriggles around on the ground on its own for a few seconds before it stills. The creature is still alive. There's still more limbs coming off of it, and it seems to kind of gnash its jaws in pain and anger. The second one, you do manage to hit it. It just sort of kind of takes it. It almost looks like it shrugs it off a little bit, but you do damage to both.
Okay, awesome. And then just so I don't forget the damage on the spirit shroud. Let's go ahead and make it necrotic because I feel like that would make sense with Reve's patron.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. There's no resistance concerning to worry about.
Okay.
So, cool. That'll bring us to the ropers. Let's see. The first one is going to close the distance with Marin, and the second one is going to keep there. The other one's going to try to move past Marin towards you. It's not going to get that far. They're essentially both going to be right about at the same point as Marin is away from you.
Okay.
So they're about 15 feet from you or so. The less injured one is definitely still focused on you. It seems intent on getting to you. It's going to kind of wish you more Marin to assess you moving towards you. The first one, however, is going to take a couple of tentacle attacks at Marin. That's an at one. And a 10.
Okay.
Both will miss. And since it's the injured one getting a critical fail, it is going to, in its rage, essentially kind of fling one of its own tentacles into its mouth as it's trying to bite Marin, and kind of like just trip itself up the biting onto itself. It doesn't really deal itself a whole lot of damage. It realizes what it's doing. It just, a kind of hurried panic, and it messes itself up a little bit. It's not going to fall prone, but it's not going to move next turn either.
Okay.
So that is the both of them. That'll bring us back to Marin. Being this close to the both of them, Marin really wants to, I think, get them away. I think they're going to try the Force Ballista again, which will hit. Here, can you roll 2d8 for me?
Yes, I can. There's 1d8, there's 2d8. That's a 5 and an 8.
Okay. So that is 10 damage, and the one that was closest and the most injured is pushed back about 10 feet. So it kind of slams back into the tapestry wall behind it, where there is still, you'll notice, seemingly like a portal open to this different realm. It almost seems to be spreading out a little bit wider. The roper almost kind of falls back through it, but manages to kind of hold themselves on this plane by slapping the tentacles out against the wall on either side of them. And you notice these strange, swirling, just shapes and colors in the darkness behind them. That'll bring us to your turn, Steve.
Okay. Reve is gonna kind of like clue in on the portal or the colors and swirling behind the ropers and behind the creatures. But they're gonna go ahead and take they're gonna do another Eldritch Blast at specifically the creature that was just messing with Marin, trying to hurt it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be 15 and 17 to hit that.
Those are both hit.
Okay. And then the that's gonna be 7, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 points of damage on that. Those two beams for that one.
Could you say that one more time? How many points?
21 points of damage.
21. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just massive damage. Blow another tentacle off, and it almost gets sucked back, almost like it's vacuumed into that other plane. You just see it kind of like spiral a bit through the portal and off into the darkness. The central mass of the creature is still there on the material plane, but it's losing blood and body parts. You'll notice its blood also is kind of just a deep black, so it seems almost more just covered in that gross slime.
Okay. And then I have a bonus action called Quick Study that I want to go ahead and take. I'm not quite sure what it does, though.
Let's see.
You can take the study action as a bonus action, so I'm kind of curious. I'm looking to.
It's a 2024 thing with an.
Okay.
Yeah, make an intelligence check to study. Let's see. Make an intelligence check to study your memory, a book, a clue, or another source of knowledge, and false mind and important pieces. So yeah, essentially it's an intelligence check on your turn.
Okay. I want to go ahead and take a study then to check the swirling in the portal and see if I can like gain any more information on that guy that's like behind the creatures.
Go ahead and
Intelligence?
Have you make an investigation check?
Okay. Ooh, I like that. I'm not mad at that. I'll take it. Okay. 23.
Okay. So mind you, you've just taken in a whole bunch of new knowledge, right? Quinn had in kind of all of their week long of study, plus the pages and pages of information that Marcellus Locke brought to their attention, which you still have on you, and have spent some time kind of pouring through quickly. As your two disparate identities have come kind of closer into contact, that information is a little bit easier for Reve to access now. So a lot of this stuff feels a lot more intuitive as you think about things. The information kind of just comes from Quinn's memories to you more freely. A singular word pops up at first thought, looking through that odd portal into that strange expanding plane of dark swirling colors. It's a name of a different plane, a forgotten place, rumored to not even exist at all, but potentially home to great old beings that are unfathomable and shouldn't exist. The name is Cartosa. You are relatively certain what you're looking at is an opening to a plane of existence, a reality that the human mind is not capable of fully perceiving and shouldn't encounter. Things from it most likely cause madness or despair. And you get the sense that there is just deep wells of great power on the other side of that. As you think about all that stuff, you feel a familiar coldness creep up your spine. It is a somehow pleasant feeling, though. It's like kind of like the chilling touch of like a loved one running their fingers across your skin, get the goosebumps, and your hair kind of stands up, but it's in sort of a pleasant, tickling kind of way. It should feel eerie. It is eerie, but it's also somewhat comforting. And you hear a word spoken in a deep voice that you haven't heard for some time. Home.
This is where we belong.
You don't get an answer.
Breathe feels themselves drift into that temptation of power for a moment, but also hears like that thickening, like wet lap of the tentacles and is pulled back, realizing that they're still in danger, but also feels that itch of power. All right, Marin. Let's take care of these things.
Okay, that will bring us back to the rovers. The one nearly falling through the portal is going to make its way back towards Marin, while the other is going to pass Marin up completely and come, well, I would say barreling. They don't really move all that fast, but it's going to do its best to pull itself along the floor as quickly as it can, and it will get just to the base, the bottom step of the altar shelter you're stood upon. As it gets close to you, specifically because it's in about 10 feet of you, I need you to make a intelligence saving throw.
Um, 18.
Okay, you make your save.
Okay.
You see as it gets close, its central eye kind of like looks directly at you, and you watch the like blood vessels in the sclera seem to almost intensify and pulse. And there's this odd effect of this kind of red aura that seems to kind of emanate out of the eye briefly. You just kind of quickly look away. When you look back, the thing just looks angry. Nothing happens. The one closest to Marin is going to attempt to fight them. Is a 19. Positive with Marin. Sure does. It's gonna do, let's see here. Ooh, okay. That is 17 points of damage to Marin as this giant mouth just clamps down on their outstretched arm. You know, they were still kind of targeting with that little cannon, and suddenly their arm just seems to kind of disappear into the mouth of this thing. It's holding onto them pretty firmly. That'll bring us back to Marin. Who needs to find a way out of this without losing an arm.
Does Reve see like clamp down on the arm with the cannon?
What's that?
It clamped down on Marin's arm with the cannon on it.
Yeah, so the cannon is like pointed down its mouth right now.
Rue is gonna shout at Marin, blast it from the inside.
All right, I'll try. Let's see. Eldritch cannon or flamethrower?
Oh no. Eldritch. We did odds and evens, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Let's see here. This is supposed to be a ranged spell attack. Too close, but the same. Yeah. You know what? We're gonna give Marin advantage on this because how do you miss when your weapon is inside a creature?
It's true.
Nat 20.
Fuck
Sure,
yeah.
considered it an automatic critical, to be honest. If you're being eaten by something, you can hit it. So let's see. That is 2d8 force damage. And push the creature back. That was 7. That is just enough. 12 force damage. And with the loud crack of all of this, arcane force going off in a not very large space, the thing just erupts in front of Marin, and pieces just go flying everywhere. The ones that kind of splatter back against the wall nearest the portal also seemingly kind of just get sucked back in, almost like back into that darkness. That one is completely obliterated and destroyed. You see Marin kind of like pulling their hand and arm in close and like wrapping bits of their clothing around it. Pretty injured, but out of immediate danger, which brings us to your turn.
Okay. And the creature's like right in front of Reve.
Yeah,
close
at this
enough.
point it's 10 feet from you.
Okay. So Reve is gonna go ahead and Eldritch Blast. Okay. So we've got 4, 24 and 21 to hit.
Those will both hit.
Okay.
Your 24 is going to be a critical because you more than double the.
Okay, cool. So 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 26, 27, 28 points on just the first hit.
Whew.
And then, let's see, that's 6 points on 6, 7, 8 on the second hit.
Okay. Just massive damage. Honestly, dealt this thing. It is still standing, but you're kind of blowing bits of it away.
Okay.
You see the kind of like redness and light in that eye dims momentarily.
Okay.
Yeah, still your turn. Anything else?
Yeah. Give me just 1 second. Oh, come on. Thought I had something cool for a bonus action. I mean, I guess I could. Hmm, it's two-handed and I can't let go. Brooke. I'll say I could conjure my packed weapon with the trident, but the two-handed weapon, and I can't let go of it. So maybe not.
It can be wielded one-handed.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and conjure it then. That'll be my bonus action.
You'll just do 1d8 instead of 1d10.
Okay.
Yep.
1d8. Okay.
All right, that's it for your turn.
Yep.
Okay. So in response to all that damage, the roper just lets out this awful shriek in a very like high-pitched, almost kind of whine that seems like shouldn't come from a creature of this shape and size. It's like head-splitting, blood-curdling, high-pitched. You notice off in the distance, in response, the darkness in that portal seems to start to kind of coalesce in weird, strange ways. Excuse me. This shadowy figure, humanoid shape, in kind of made kind of out of black smoke, seems to kind of take shape, take form just beyond the threshold, and then takes a step through. This is about 30 feet or so from you again, but from this distance even you can recognize the features, the shape, the form. It is almost like a shadowy amalgamation of you stepping out. And in its hand is one long length of shadow shaped just like your trunk. That'll bring us to Marin, who sees this shadowy version of you and being incredibly low on health, decides to kind of retreat off to the side of this circular room a little bit and try to heal themselves. They're going to use Cure Wounds on themselves at second level. And return themselves back to full health with 22 hit points restored.
Nice.
You hear them like kind of grunting as they're tending to their wound. And for Marin, casting Cure Wounds isn't as magical as it would be for most other people. They're literally like pulling tinctures out of their pockets, pouring it into wounds, wrapping bindings around it, and then you see them just kind of like test out the grip and make sure their hand still works okay. That'll be their turn, which will bring us back to you. You still have the one creature directly in front of you, very injured, and then this strange shadow about 30 feet away from you.
Reve is going to they're going to start by taking care of the creature in front of them.
Okay.
Okay. So they're going to go ahead and do one more Eldritch Blast, kind of channel it through the trident though this time, make it a little more like flavor it.
Okay.
Okay. That's 19 on one and a 16 on the other. Yeah. Okay. 18 and 16.
Those will both hit.
Okay. Um, Four. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on the first blast. And then 12 on the second blast. So that's 11 and 12. 13 points or 23 points total.
You, again, blast massive pieces. Most of the tentacles on this creature are blown away as you start kind of just unleashing power into it. It is still standing, and it's just barely standing. It is doing its best to like drag its mass up the steps towards you.
Okay. And then Rita's gonna look at the shadow creature. And they're gonna try to use awakened mind and clairvoyant combatant with it. So you can form a telepathic bond with any creature, and it is a wisdom saving throw, DC 13. And then on a failed save, the creature has disadvantage on attack rolls against you, and I have advantage on attack rolls against it for the duration of the bond.
Okay.
And with Awaken Mind, basically I can take any chosen creature and I can communicate with it within a 2 miles, and then I can understand the creature as long as we have a shared language. And that lasts for 8 minutes.
Okay. Are you attempting to communicate with it?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to ask it, like, what are you? Or are you me?
In response, yeah, but it fails its save, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But in response to your kind of mental probing, you hear back a just like gut wrenching shrieking sound. sounds like the tearing of thousands of pieces of fabric or, 100 pieces of paper all at once, uh, but somehow in an animalistic kind of forced scream way.
Okay. All right. And that's all I'm going to be able to do. Because I can't move. I'm still holding that crook there.
The very, very nearly dead looking creature in front of you is going to make a last effort to reach out and pull you away from the crib. So, two tentacles, its last two tentacles basically, are going to reach out towards you as it pulls itself up a step. Let's see. So that is a 9 to hit, which I'm sure will miss. The other one is a 26 to hit.
That'll hit. And that's double my armor class. Or over double my armor class.
You are actually just going to be grappled by this one.
Okay.
It's not really hitting you. It's just trying to pull you. So I would like you to make a let's call it acrobatics or athletics.
Okay, we're going to go for with acrobatics. Athletics is bullshit. Holy shit, that was fucking lucky as hell. That is nat 20. It was almost a 2.
So as it starts to wrap around you, one of its tentacles just kind of like hit the base of the pedestal and is kind of pulling its body closer towards you. The other one reached up and started to wrap around your arm, holding on to the crook. But you still have your other hand free with the trident, so kind of just pry it off of like the butt of the trident, and it just slips right off you. And it's so weak, it just slaps down to the ground in front of you. And it's almost just kind of tipped over, looking up at you, trying to like mash its way towards you. While that's happening, the shadow creature on the far side of the room is pulling back with the trident in hand, most likely taking aim directly at you. So it's going to attempt to throw it at you. And it is going to do so with disadvantage. It rolled 2 4s. So okay, 8 total. So it throws this shadowy trident, and right before it's going to pass into or through you, it just puffs into nothingness and disappears, and then it reappears in the shadow's hand. It almost starts to like regrow out of the shadow's hand almost. Seeing that it hasn't hurt you, it starts to try to close the distance between you, and it comes walking up basically to the base of the pedestal, completely ignoring Marin off to the side, tending their wounds. Marin, however, is panicking, seeing Reve kind of starting to get surrounded a little bit, or at least pressured from 2 enemies. Start surrounded. So Marin is going to try to rejoin the fight. And come running up next to you and turn the force cannon on the shadow. It's going to be that is only an 8 to hit, however. So same thing again, just in their panic, their hands are a little bit too shaky. They just keep shooting wide. So another loud ringing sound, but you just notice like dust and debris kind of gets blown off the floor next to you guys. That'll bring it to your turn. One creature still kind of trying to wrap itself around you, and another stood a few feet away from you, looking up at you.
Okay, and is the creature like fairly close to me now?
The shadow's about 10 feet from you. The roper is prone right at your feet.
It's prone.
It is prone.
Do I get advantage on my attack then?
You do.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to green flame. Oh wait, Nick, with being grappled, I would have made to make a concentration saving throw when I
You evaded the grapple immediately.
Oh, okay. Um, sorry, just wanted to double check. I'm gonna green flame blade my trident, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take a hit at it.
Okay, go for it.
All right.
Yeah, you do attack with advantage.
I got an 8 and I got a nat 20 on my advantage.
Okay, and then we'll go with the nat 20.
I think I will. Um, let's see here. And then because I am doing it one-handed, it is going to be a D8. And then with my green flame blade, what do I add to that? A D8. Okay.
So that would be 2d8 originally, but doubled to 4 you. Or roll the 2 and double both or something.
But don't make me do more math. So that's 13, 26, 27, 28 points of damage total.
Okay, how do you want to do this?
Fuck yes. Okay. So Reve is gonna go ahead and they're gonna kind of do like this hand twirl with the trident, and as they twirl the trident, as they twirl the trident, it's going to erupt in that blade in the flame, and they're going to shove it down into the creature, like aiming specifically for that red eye, feeling a little vindictive after it tried to grapple it. And when they stick it in the eye, they are going to look up and see what happens with the shadow creature too.
So, good that you pointed that out, because for one, this is super easy. It hits make, right? You basically just put this thing out of its misery. As you do so, it slumps down, all of its limbs go loose, and it starts to even kind of slide down the few steps towards the shadow creature. And as it does, that shadow just like dissipates. It just disappears into wisps of smoke that gets sucked back towards the portal. You notice the vacuum effect of that portal seems to be getting stronger. It's pulling back that smoky wisp, and the body parts of the rovers are also seemingly getting sucked back towards that other plane as well. All of them, in fact, are being pulled through that hole. And the sound of just wind rushing through the air, the tapestries kind of flapping the wind and everything, all intensifies as all of this energy just gets pulled back into this other plane. And as the last little bit of rover goo gets sucked up off the floor, that portal just closes in the wall. The tapestry's destroyed, everything is ruined, but as the wall reforms, there's a opening, seemingly a doorway that was hidden behind the tapestry. So this extra dimensional space closes, but a new material plane space opens behind it. The trident, sorry, not the trident, the crook seems to almost pulse briefly. And as the darkness fades, there's this just kind of aura of warmth and glowing golden light that seems to emanate from it again, and it starts to fill the space. And you feel the crook click back out of place, out of the pedestal, as you hear this deep, intense, rumbling, cracking sound. At first, you think it's like the stone beneath your feet, but when you look down, nothing has like ruptured below you. Everything is still intact, but you feel this just fracture in space-time happening. Things kind of settle in again. Aaron comes over, looking a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? Did you do it?
I think so. Marin, I think he's calling me home.
What do you do about that?
Felt power. I felt stronger. I want that. And Reve is gonna look over toward the door.
There is seemingly a set of stairs winding up at the end of like a short corridor. It's like a 6-foot hallway essentially. So you can see pretty clearly because this golden light is pouring down that hall. You can see the base of what looks like a winding spiral stone staircase.
I want to see what the threshold to home looks like. And Reve's gonna turn, not say anything to Marin, and walk toward it.
Okay. Marin will follow behind you. It is a little eerie, I think, maybe to walk through a space that you didn't know was there. I think maybe a little uncertain of, is this material plane, is this extra plane, or is this something else? Um, as you kind of cross that threshold, everything around you is still that same kind of stone that it has been. Same for when you get to the base of the stairs. It winds up into darkness for what seems like a while. So as you begin your ascent, you almost get a little dizzy, just kind of going in a short circle over and over and over again for quite a while. Some 15 to 20 minutes ish, probably, of ascending the steps. It's tiring. You eventually find yourself standing in a very dark 5 foot by 5 foot square landing. The steps just come into a stone closet of sorts.
Reve's gonna kind of look around. This can't be a dead end.
Make an investigation check. It's going to be a very low DC. Just take a little bit of.
17 plus 9.
Okay, pretty easy for Reeve to figure out that there is a secret door on the wall opposite the stairs. The wall itself just kind of clicks out. It isn't locked or secured in any way. It is just very probably cleverly disguised together. It seems almost like all of the stone seems flush. There's no indication of it. But when you start feeling around, you can tell that the wall has something to it.
So we're just gonna go ahead and like push through the false wall.
Okay. As you do, you hear first that like slight faintest scraping of stone on stone as the door begins to shift, and then the squeaking of some very, very old hinges. As this wall slides out in front of you. You're met with some natural kind of light on the other side and a familiar smell, kind of musty scent of old books, paper, leather, and burning candles. As you push this wall out further open, you realize it is connected to a bookcase, also pushing out away from the wall. As you swing it out completely, you find yourself walking back out into the library from one of the kind of deep recessed corners, buried away the darkest edges. You can see just above kind of the stacks of books, the domed ceiling of the library, where there were glass windows up above. Almost entirely pitch black darkness, except for that you can see the crooked smile of the shepherd's park constellations that are glowing with an almost connection of golden light in the sky above. That same glow seems to also be reflected from somewhere in the center, the central mosaic area of the library itself. Some of the stacks and stuff are still kind of in the way, but you can tell there's some sort of golden light.
Reeves just kind of chuckled to himself. It all comes full circle, doesn't it? And there,
Marin comes hopping up the stairs behind you eventually.
well, Marin, let's go see the secrets that this library keeps. Our old forgotten tomes.
What?
And Reve is going to make their way back to the mosaic.
It's just a few short turns, in between stacks and whatnot. It's another minute or so of walking. It is a big library, but it's not hard to get. Reed, with access to the majority of Quinn's memories now, knows the way rather well. As you kind of make that last turn, find yourself walking out of a long hall of books. You see in the center of the kind of like rotunda, like welcoming space of the library, the mosaic on the floor, almost swiped clean. The images that were depicted there before are entirely gone. What is there now is a black circle with 4 golden cracks seemingly emanating from its center towards the outer ring. They almost kind of spider web their way out in 4 different directions, north, south, east, west. And they just about touch what appears to be the outer edge of this circular mosaic. The library itself is still. It's almost as though the whole building is kind of holding its breath. And that old book smell takes on the scent of just this sort of stale, decayed nature. As your footsteps kind of echo across the cement, the stone, the floor, you take in another brief sound from somewhere near the entrance. You turn and look to your left and notice a figure kind of standing against the silhouette of torchlight behind them, or silhouetted by the torchlight behind them. It's Headmaster Elias Doyle, standing there with just kind of arms crossed, watching over the central mosaic and watching you approach. You came. I wasn't sure you'd make it.
You weren't sure I'd make it alive?
I wasn't sure who would make it. You're at the edge now. This is it. That's over there. Final seal. Have you acquired all of the relics necessary to perform the ultimate ritual?
I believe so.
Then, to proceed, you'll need to don them all. Stand in the center. And offer up your dearest member.
I may not be the one to offer anything. I have no memories.
Don't you? Your body does.
But are they mine to offer? Headmaster, how long have you been guarding this city?
Long before I ever met you.
So you knew the other times. The ones that came before.
Knew one of them.
Why did they fail?
Lack of determination. Some people simply don't want it enough.
Reve is gonna turn inward. And reach out to both Quinn and their master. Can we trust him?
I always did. I still do. Sensing your hesitance, the headmaster will eventually take a step or two closer, slowly. The choice is yours. I won't interfere one way or another, but remember, you are on the precipice. I'm so far.
I always seem to be on the very edge, don't I?
What do you do when you're at the edge? From personality, you step back, We jump in.
And Reve's gonna reach for the satchel that they've been carrying and see if they have the broken journal with them.
If they have which journal?
The broken journal.
Yes, you do. Sorry, Reeve and Quinn carry so many journals, I have to be specific sometimes.
No, totally understand. And Reeve's gonna go inward one more time. I'll find it does seem we have one.
Say that one more time.
Well, Quinn, it seems we do have one memory.
Yeah.
Are you prepared to live in the fractures?
You hear just the word yes in response, but it comes back in two voices.
All right. And Reeve's going to begin stepping forward.
Okay. Into the center of the circle. As you do, you feel the kind of energy pulse beneath your feet as you take each step. Feels like this warm glow starts to emanate up your body. The cracks, these kind of spiderweb golden veins running through the blackness of the circle, also kind of pulse in time with that vibration you feel. They seem to respond just to your proximity. So as you get to the center of them, where they all kind of intersect, they all seem to kind of awaken a little bit and light up and kind of begin to highlight the air around you a little. Are you wearing any of the artifacts yet?
As Reeve was walking forward toward the circle, or the very center of the circle, one by one, they begin donning the artifacts. They pull the shroud out. They begin pulling the mask out. They have their crook in their hand. And once they arrive at the very center, they feel the energy coming from the center, and they don the mask.
That pulsing begins to kind of spread out a little bit further and deeper, and you feel a vibration building in the whole floor. Not just the mosaic, but everything around begins to kind of pulsate and vibrate. You hear books on the shelves rattling.
As everything starts to rattle around them, recognizing they need to get the memory. Reeve takes a deep breath and actually starts to pull Quinn forward. And wants to do this together. And Reeve says, "Welcome to the deep end."
You feel a sense as though someone is holding your left hand. Very familiar. It's almost as though you are holding your own hand. There's nothing there. It's just this. It's almost like the phantom limb sensation, that memory, that feeling was there. Let's jump in.
Here we go.
As you bring to mind one of Quinn's fondest memories, one of their only really fond memories of their childhood, a time spent in study with their parents, uh, the first interaction with magic at the guidance of their parents. They were very, very young. You feel it come to mind and then pass you by as you, in kind of the same instant, begin to forget that thing. As you do, the vibration, the energy, the pulsating intensifies even more. Books begin to fall off of the shelves. You hear the walls shaking. You hear the glass in the ceiling above you begin to vibrate in its housing. And then you smell something like a candle burning. You smell like hot wax. You feel the mask of yellow begin to melt onto your face. It doesn't hurt. There's no pain associated with this, but it seems to meld with your skin and start to almost kind of encompass your head. The crook seems to morph in your hand, and what was almost like braided gold begins to kind of unravel and unwind right within it, and it starts to knit itself around your hand, binding the crook into your hand almost. And this golden threads begin to kind of run up your forearm a little bit. As you look down to notice that, you see that the shroud has begun to kind of unfurl somehow and expand in volume and shape and size. It seems to almost kind of grow out from your back towards the floor and then out towards the circle, which you realize now has begun to pulse intensely with this golden light. The veins that run out from under your feet to the end suddenly illuminate the entire outer edge of the circle of this golden glow. And as the golden light kind of traces that circular shape and connects, creates a full 360-degree circle of gold, there's this loud crashing sound as the glass above shatters and comes raining down around you in small bits. Again, none of this hurts. You take no physical damage from this, but everything around you is suddenly bathed in broken glass. But at the same time, also this golden glow as you look upward and notice that in the sky, that constellation that was an arc has also seemingly suddenly formed into a golden ring in the air. And it seems to be aligned almost directly above the portal that is essentially forming at your feet. Off to the side, Headmaster, having taken a few steps back, just says softly, "Our offering has been accepted. The veil is shattered." And you hear from inside you the deep voice. It opens. You begin to levitate into the air just a few feet. And as you do, the cloak, the shroud, seems to grow even further out from behind you. And at the same time, it seems to grow into you, though it's become a piece of fabric of your being. What other pieces of yourself do you feel slipping away from you?
Quinn suddenly finds themselves losing their mind, something that they had once valued. Their intellect, their wit, their cleverness, they feel it's slipping away. And they find it hard to recall the things that they had once been able to relish, their ability to research, to deep dive into facts and knowledge, their deep appreciation of arcana, and the ability to recall and delve into spells is gone. And they feel this almost madness taking over within them. And
What does that madness feel like? Is it joyful? Is it scary?
it's almost childish. It's a simple wonder. Um, Being more fascinated with the simplicity of certain things and not remembering how complex or in depth the world can be.
As you feel this giddy sensation wash over you, you hear your patron's voice again. The tide rises. And you are suddenly bathed fully in this golden glow as the light from above and below almost kind of seem to coalesce and connect in this just spiral of glowing golden energy. The ring above you seemingly opens at the same time as the one below you. From beneath your feet, a throne made of shining golden shimmering material of some sort seems to rise up out of the floor. A massive throne. It replaces the entire diameter of this mosaic, which was 10 feet diameter, roughly. As that rises from the floor above you, you see floating down from the sky above you a robed figure, hood up over its head. It is also just radiant golden light. It seems to move the golden glow with it as it descends down towards the throne. You are almost kind of caught in between momentarily before you are sort of shifted to the side. Still within that pillar of glowing light, but you watch as this figure kind of passes you by and meets its seat, its throne. It just kind of relaxes. You hear Patron again. Shepherd returns. The pillar of light seems to retract from the ceiling down towards the floor, and you sink down with it to your feet. And you're stood before a somewhat hulking figure, though they appear kind of bent over with age, and you can't see any actual features. All you see is a robe inhabited by a body. You see almost skeletal-like hands coming out of the ends of the sleeves. But But as the golden glow of light around you kind of dissipates, the floor relaxes, everything kind of settles in the library. That golden light seems to continue to pour off of this being, specifically out of the hooded part, obscuring the face almost completely. They gently reach a hand forward, and the croak that had been taking root in your hand is ripped away and flies into their hand. If you look down at your hand, you realize it is stuck. I need you to make a wisdom save.
Do you want me to use Reve or wind?
Reve.
That's going to be a 15.
Okay. The figure in the throne seems to regard you silently for a moment before it stands and begins to walk towards the door of the library, taking its golden warmth. The light of the throne even seems to absorb into this robed figure, and all of that seems to trail in its wake behind it as it drags its large robed mass and light and warmth away with it. As you watch it walk away, you notice the headmaster also seemingly walking off into the distance, kind of retreating into the stacks in the library. And then just beside them stands Mara, watching, looking at you with a horrified expression. Breathe. Are you okay? As you go to open your mouth to respond, I need you to make one more wisdom save.
11.
You feel a tear in your mind, and hear a shriek. There's this piercing pain that drops you to your knees before it is faded, dulled by a cold presence that begins to creep up your spine again. It's almost as though there's a chill being poured into you. For a moment, you felt as though you were drowning again. And then you hear the voice again. You warm the mouse like the thread. Give it yourself. You are ready. I shall wear your skin. You are my rising tide. Stand. You find yourself planting one hand on the floor, finding your feet again. As you rise up, you look down, you realize the hand that you lifted yourself up with is the one that should have been missing. It is now replaced with this black, smoky-like entity that seems to resemble tendril-like fingers reaching out of what should have been your wrist. The voice that answers Marin is one not your own. Reve's mouth opens, but Cthulhu's voice answers. We shall spread the word. There.
I think that works. I guess the question is now, Nick, is that it for Marin and Reve and Quinn?
Well, we'll just have to tune in for season 2 to find out what becomes of Reve when the patron, who we now know is Cthulhu, and our friend Marin. We're going to need a little bit of time to digest and discuss, and we'll need a little bit more time to probably plan. But season 2 of Table 2, Wild Autumn, is already in the works. So come back soon. Keep an eye on this channel. Make sure you have your notifications turned on. We'll make sure to post on social media and stuff too when we're ready to start going live with those episodes as well. But we hope you liked season 1 so far. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned for season 2. Thank you all for joining us so far.
Yeah, and folks, stay tuned for Behind the Veil, and we will break down what just happened.
Yeah, I think we got a lot to go over.
All right. So thank you all for joining Nick and I for tonight's episode, and we'll see you when we're someone else.